When does it go live? When it going live or you're live? Or
it says
before?
You're live and we're live.
Hola, Unconventionals. ¿Cómo están? The intellectual egg is here.
Yeah, whoever said that, I don't know. I didn't.
Just because I have an egg-shaped head does not mean I'm an intellectual egg.
But he is intellectual.
Well, we have
that was cute.
A lot of comments going here already. So we're just going to kind of run through the political turmoil that is facing Ecuador right now and talk about what the future holds for this amazing country that we love so much.
Yes.
Okay, so this week, Wednesday, well, I should start before that, is that I think the fourth time the National Assembly tried to impeach Lasso. And so he this week actually appeared before the National Assembly to plead his case. And they continued with the impeachment process anyway. And then on Wednesday, he issued an article in the Constitution. It's called the Death Cross, or La Muerte Crusada, the cross death. It basically means that the whole government has to rerun for election, the National Assembly and the president. And the election board just announced that the first round of elections will be held on August 20th. And then if there's in Ecuador, we don't have a two-party system here like we're used to in the US. There's actually a bunch of different parties and they can all run for office, and they actually split the National Assembly. So there's multiple parties represented in the National Assembly. So it's not a duopoly like we have in the United States with the Democrats and the Republicans. So basically, multiple people can run for president and be on the ballot and actually get votes, unlike in the US where really only two are really meaningful. So here they can have like 5 or 10 people running for president. They all get votes. If no one gets 50% of the vote, then it goes to a runoff election between the top two candidates. So the two candidates with the most votes after the first round then go into a runoff that is going to be, excuse me, that's going to be on October 15th. So that will most likely be the runoff. They almost always have a runoff. So Lasso had an interview with the Washington Post on Thursday, I believe, where he said that he was not going to run for president. On Friday afternoon, his spokespeople said that that's not what he meant, that they think it was a translation error. What he said is that he hasn't decided yet if he's running. He hasn't made any sort of announcement. And he said basically his focus is on running the country at the moment. So we'll see if he runs again or not. I guess as he will, but I don't, who knows at this point.
Right now, there's a pending list of candidates that in the news, they're reporting on 9 different possible candidates, but nobody is officially started their campaigning yet, as far as we know.
Yeah. And they will not like have a 4-year term. This is an election, right, a special election, and whoever wins in the president and National Assembly will finish out the remaining term for the current term. And then, so again, in the spring of 2025, there will be new elections, regular elections again, and they will vote for president and National Assembly again at that time. And then I think that some of the candidates may wait, because why run an election on such a compressed timeline if you're only going to be in office for a year? Basically, by the time they're sworn in, it'll be a little over a year, maybe a year and a half at the most. And then they'll have to run for re-election again. So my guess is some of them may not run in this special election and may hold off and use all of their campaign funds and clout to run in the regular election so they get a full term. But
yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this progresses. So Lasso still has to do his annual speech next Wednesday, the 24th, which he'll be doing in a stadium as opposed to in front of the National Assembly. So it's just going to be interesting. We're going to keep you guys updated and let you know what's going on. But we're happy to report that it's actually been pretty quiet. And I read an article in Prometheus this morning that said that people are just like, yeah, whatever, because they're so tired of all of the political stuff going on. And well, who can blame them? Because I think we all get burnt out on political stuff. I don't care what country you're from. Sometimes it just gets really old.
It does. So yeah, he'll do his State of the Union address next week. That is on Wednesday. That's what what do they call it here? His annual report. I think that's what they call it here. We would call it that State of the Union. So the National Assembly corresponds to what we would call the House of Representatives in the United States. They don't have 2 chambers in their Congress. They just have the one National Assembly. So they don't really have what we would call a Senate. So in the meantime, during this special election process, Lasso will be allowed to rule by decree on matters of economic urgency. That's kind of the stipulation in the Constitution. So he can't just institute decrees across the board. So it'll be on matters of economic urgency, and those have to go through the Constitutional Court, which is what we would call the Supreme Court. And then they will have like the approval process before those decrees actually go into like law or implementation.
Exactly. So right now, we were concerned in the very beginning when all of this went down that, oh no, we're going to see a lot of national protests. That has not been the case. I think instead people are just like, okay, let's just everybody maintain calm and we're going to go about our daily lives and hope for the best.
Well, they have to mount an election campaign in 3 months because we have less than 3 months until the election. So my guess is it would be really hard to split the focus between a national protest, which takes a lot of coordination and money. It's not free to do these protests. They have to actually provide food, water, and shelter to the protesters who come from all over the country to protest in centralized areas. The last protest last year, they said cost $12 million. So that they can't just like mount multiple campaigns for the National Assembly and president and fund the protests like they did last year. So my guess is they're going to focus on the elections, and then depending on how those turn out, we may see protests.
Yes. Well, hopefully not. Let's hope that everybody just keeps a calm head. Nobody seems to be that concerned.
No.
We've been seeing lots of happy faces. I think of course, I'm completely speculating here, but maybe the Ecuadorian people are just like happy that things are moving forward and they're going to possibly see some change. I'm going to say possibly because who knows what's going to happen.
I know it is funny. I commented on that to Amelia like yesterday. I think we went for a walk and I'm like, everybody seems so happy, like even more happy than normal. People are smiling and saying hola and buenos dias. And it seems like there's like a weight has been lifted. And I think that could be because the polls are horrible for the government, both Lasso and the National Assembly. Their ratings are like really abysmal, like horrible.
Yeah,
like in the teens, like their approval rating is like 13% or something. It's terrible because they just have not been working together. Neither side has been working together to actually lead the country. They've pretty much just been arguing with each other since Lasso got elected, which kind of sucks for the country because nothing's getting done. And as Americans, we completely understand that because that is exactly, I should say, U.S. Americans, sorry, Americanos, todos. Anyway, we're extremely used to that coming from the United States because nothing has gotten done there for a couple of decades.
All right, don't go down.
I know, but that's across the board. I mean, I'm not saying it's any one person or party's fault. It's not. It's all of their fault. And I think that is the same thing that's happening here in Ecuador. It's all of their fault, and they will not work together, which you have to if you want a functional democracy. You have to work together.
Absolutely.
So, and that's not happening. And I think the people are like, well, maybe it can't get any worse than it has been because nothing's getting done. So I think that there's like this mood of, well, maybe something will get better after this.
So we are just sitting here going to just pay attention and see what happens. We're not concerned about instability. I know we heard from some of our viewers out there that you guys are really concerned about instability. Nothing has changed for us.
Yeah, we haven't noticed it. I mean, crime is up since the pandemic. We haven't noticed a massive uptick in crime recently. The uptick occurred about a year and a half ago, and it's just still high. And they just had a mass shooting. I guess it would qualify as a mass shooting here in Ecuador. There was a police officer was killed in Guayaquil. He was from Manta. So they had his funeral on Thursday, and a group of men came in with guns and killed 4 people and injured 16 other people at a funeral home in Manta that was right by where we used to live. We used to walk by that funeral home like 2-3 times a week at least. So it was a bit concerning to see the picture of that funeral home in the news.
Yeah, the news reports were that they were hitmen. So it was a targeted attack against the family, I guess. And I mean, it's horrible. But they did announce that they're going to send more police to that area. So hopefully.
I know it's not the same here. It's always targeted. It's usually gang related or, somebody organization targeting someone. It's not like in the US where a random dude who has never been on anyone's radar goes and kills people in a mall. That's just not what happens here. It's pretty much all crime related.
Yeah.
It's not random.
Yeah, but it's still horrifying.
It's still terrifying.
Yes. And somebody made a comment that they've seen some activity, some crime pickup in Montanita. That seems to ebb and flow in that area, especially because it's such a hot spot for tourism. But the crime has increased. I mean, we've definitely heard more reports about pickpocketing and things like home invasions and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. And maybe all of this stuff is actually going to help, because it's not like there's no government now. Things are, like we said, there's still checks and balances in place. The police are still going to work. The government is running. Everything is open. Yeah. To be honest, we didn't notice a change at all.
Yeah.
Which we're very happy to tell you.
Yep. Ken, I completely disagree with you. It's all their fault. Nope. Let's try not to assign blame or do any name calling about politics, because we're of the mindset that it's all of their fault. There is no one that is free of blame in all of the problems that are going on right now. Some sides are more to blame than others on certain issues, but for the most part, they're all to blame at some level on every issue.
I didn't see the comments, so I'm keeping my.
I know.
shut.
It's just, I know.
We got lots of comments, JP. Holy cow. You guys have a lot on your minds.
Yeah, I'm so sick of politics and people's political harassments. Us too. Yes. That's what we try to steer clear of it, and then we get berated for not taking a side or not sharing our views. We do share our views. We're pretty much middle of the road. We wish they would work together and compromise.
So an interesting little bit of trivia, if you didn't know this about Ecuador, is that they have dry voting. So 3 days before the election, and then the morning after, I think that you can't buy or have any alcohol, period. I mean, I guess you could do it in your privacy of your own home, but don't go out and do that.
Yeah. So the elections are always on a Sunday. That way, the majority of people are off work and able to vote without taking a day off from work. The dry period starts at noon on Friday and goes until noon on Monday. So you're not supposed to drink, and you can't buy alcohol during that time. Right. I remember we were at a restaurant during one of the elections, and, we're obviously gringos. We're like, so we can't vote anyway. And the restaurant broke the rules and gave us a glass of wine.
Yeah, we didn't know.
I didn't even know. I'm like, can you just pour it in like a regular cup and we'll call it grape juice?
Yeah. And obviously now we know, so we wouldn't do that. We're not advocating that you do that, but it's such a fascinating cultural difference. It's just one of the nuances that we love about Ecuador.
Yeah.
So, and you'll see it, they'll have it all blocked off at the grocery store. If you go into the liquor section, that they have signs up. So just plan ahead if you're here.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of campaigning here too. So we'll see a lot of that.
Somebody said, what would you do if you were part of the government? I would see how far I could walk out into the ocean. I told Amelia this morning, I just have no idea why anybody wants to do these jobs, because it's just so brutal and thankless. And no matter what you do, somebody hates you. I mean, I guess it's not a lot like being a YouTuber.
I was just going to say that. It's not as bad. YouTube isn't as bad. We get our share of haters, but who doesn't in the world, right? That's life now. Thank you, social media, for better or worse.
Dylan Seaman, thanks a million. JP, thanks for your content and just being amazing. Grape juice, nice. Thanks. Thank you. And I think we had another super chat up here somewhere. I forgot to mention. Oh, here we go. Ralph Pastor.
I can't see it. You didn't make it bigger, JP.
Oh, I need to
there's no way I could read all the way over there. But muchas gracias.
Pop out chat. Here we go.
Yes.
That's much better. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. There we go.
See, your new glasses work really well, but I'm still kind of far away. We are still middle-aged,
Let's see. There's lots of comments that we didn't see or didn't have a chance to respond to. So if you posted something before we started and you want us to answer it, repost it now. Yeah,
sorry, you guys. I saw it like going in my peripheral. The comments were going fast and furious. But we don't have a lot more to update you on, which is actually, I think, a really good thing.
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying other countries have these dry laws too around the elections. That's really interesting. I think it's a good idea.
It is a good idea.
Especially here in Ecuador, they love their cerveza. And I sent out my newsletter yesterday and I had a typo in it's called La Muerte Cruzada, which means the crossed death. And I had Crusada Muerte. Spanish confuses me so much sometimes. I guess it would be La Cruzada de Muerte, the cross of death. Actually, Cruzada though means crossed. So it's like an X, which basically means the government has to start over. So whether you agree with that or not, I don't know. We don't really understand the politics well enough to comment on the chess match that's going on right now. But all I know is that the elections will come up and we'll have probably some new and some old leaders.
Ronald asks, why don't you guys drink wine while you're doing this?
Good idea. Why don't we? We should.
That would be funny. I wouldn't then need to take a nap.
Yeah, mutually assured destruction. That's what I had the exact same thought, Eric. That was my thought too. It's a mutually assured destruction. Like if one side threatens to take down the other side can issue this mutually assured destruction. And so everybody goes down together. We have not seen any influence of El Salvador's president Bukele.
No,
I'm not sure how his name Bukele. We have not seen it. People don't really talk about it much here. At least none of our friends do. Oh, somebody got a new finca in El Carmen, Colombia.
Ooh, wow. Felicidades. Oh, I bet that's gorgeous.
Are you the guy we met at the restaurant Caime in Medellin? I'm not sure. I can't tell you a picture. It's like really tiny.
Even with it all expanded.
Yeah, then it's called the nuclear option. Yeah.
Okay. That's depressing.
I know it is.
I'm not disagreeing. I just don't want to think about that.
Do you know the government will charge you to import a car to Ecuador? That depends. Only returning Ecuadorian citizens can import a car to Ecuador. So if you're an Ecuadorian citizen, then it's based on the value of the car and then how much they charge. It's not cheap. Yeah, and it's up to 32,000, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think or it may have gone up with the minimum wage. I can't remember. You need to talk to an import agent for all of the current stuff. Oh, wow. Thank you, Ted.
Hey, muchas gracias, Ted. That was very kind of you.
Oh, Ted and Wendy. Hola, guys.
Oh, hey.
Still trying to find a home.
Oh.
That sucks.
It's a process.
Yeah, we know how that feels. We're just talking about that.
I know. We were reminiscing when we first moved to Cuenca.
Yeah.
We just could not find the right place. Everybody else is like, oh, I got this place in like a week and it was perfect. We looked at 9 places.
Mm-hmm.
It was a process.
Yeah.
You'll find your right place.
Yeah, we just recorded a video. We got invited to do a panel for international living, and we just recorded our video for their day-long program. And we talked about trying to find a house in Cuenca when we first got here. It was something. It was quite the experience. A lot different than what we're used to in the U.S.
Yes, it was interesting.
Do you think the visas may change? There's no way to know.
I don't see a lot of things changing, honestly. I mean, anything is possible, but they're in the process of doing some other tax reforms and they're working on some issues with the IESS and things like that. So the visa process is actually, and from my perspective, it seems like they've been making a lot of improvements to make it even easier for you guys to come here. Mm-hmm. So I'll be really surprised if they start taking that away.
Yeah, they've lowered some of the income requirements, mm-hmm. actually eliminated it, right, for the professional visa. Yeah. And they've made it so like the investor visa, I think you can qualify your income requirement with a balance on your credit card. We haven't independently verified that, but we've heard it from multiple sources mm-hmm. now. So yeah, and it looks like they're really interested in bringing more expats here because my guess is that the immigration has gone down because of the crime.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get more people here because it's a huge income stream for them to have foreign residents here spending money. The last we heard 2 years ago, they said that foreign residents spend about $600 million a year in Ecuador. So as expats, we basically bring all of our money. It's the cheapest, easiest way to import money from other countries. And so the government really likes having us here. Plus, we don't really use a lot of the public systems and services, and we don't compete for jobs. Most of us, we don't, especially from the US, Canada, and Europe, we don't come here looking for, service jobs or driving taxis, that kind of stuff. So we don't compete for the employment, but we fund all of those people who do provide those services. So
Yes.
They like having us here.
Oh, good. El Circulo said that he or she, this person, feels very safe where they are in southern Ecuador. We love hearing that. I mean, obviously there are parts that are just not good, like parts of Guayaquil and Esmeraldas. And you need to take extra precautions. I know somebody was asking about that, and also commenting about going to Costa Rica and Panama and checking out other countries as a plan B. That's always a good idea regardless. You never know what's going to happen anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually looking for a second residency. So we have our citizenship with the U.S. We're looking for and our permanent residence in Ecuador. We're looking for a second residency just in case. I mean, it's just, you never know what's going to happen. There's no way we can predict what is going to happen here. It could get really great and be awesome, and the crime could go down and the economy could go up, or it could be the opposite.
Yep.
And there's just no way to know. Right now, we have no plans of leaving. It's still going to be our permanent home. We will not let, even if we decide we want to get residency somewhere else, we will not let our residency here expire because we love it here. I mean, I can't imagine not living here.
I know, we love it here so much. And we were talking about this earlier today too, that actually, I guess we were talking about this on Wednesday or Thursday when they first announced. We were wondering if they were going to have protests, and we're kind of just like, okay, well, this is just part of life here. And it's frustrating, but the kind of stuff is going to happen, and it happens around the world, and it happens in the States. It happens Panama had a big protest.
Yeah.
Peru, and theirs was
really bad.
But we've lived through several, and we have, no issue with it. We don't like it to become violent, but we like the fact that people do go out there and protest, and it's part of the culture.
Yeah, they have the freedom to do that. We really respect that the government allows people to protest. We don't like the inconvenience, but we understand that it's their right and they can do that. And we respect that they have that freedom. It's nice to have the freedom to protest if you want to.
But I guess my point of bringing that up is that because we've lived here longer, we're more comfortable with just the culture in general. So we don't get nearly as nervous as we did the very first time.
I don't know. I was pretty nervous again. I really thought that there was going to be a protest after Lasso did the Muerte Crusada.
I know.
But anyway, they didn't. So.
No, I know. We heard people were saying that you should be stocking up 3 to 6 months for food. That's it. No, we never felt like that. We never ran out of food during a protest. I mean, you may have some difficulties getting around, but
yeah, the Mercaditos where we like to shop, the little mom and pop mercados, we've been through 2 national protests. They never ran out of food. The only time they ran out of food was during the first 2 weeks of the pandemic when we had the quarantine and nobody was letting anybody through because, people in one town didn't want anyone from the other town to come infect them, I think was kind of the mindset. It was a lot of fear-based. It was a little bit Walking Dead-like where, they're not going to let the zombies from the next town in. So they couldn't bring the food in. But during the protests so far, the Mercaditos have been stocked. The grocery stores have been low.
Yeah, but we've never run out of toilet paper.
Never had a run on toilet paper.
No, never, not during any of the protests or the quarantine.
Hey, Robert, thank you. Sorry it took us a while to get to your comment. Thank you. My buddy and I will be visiting in October for the first time. Should I be concerned? I guess it depends on where you're going. I wouldn't recommend going to Guayaquil or Puerto Viejo or Esmeraldas. I would steer clear of those 3 areas. Otherwise, if you go to the mountain areas, you'll probably be okay. Just, I don't know. I think Cuenca would be great. Loja, Vilcabamba, Cotacachi,
the usual suspects.
Yeah, Mindo, the Amazon. I think there's a whole lot of places that you could go. And even Manta and Salinas, I think, would be okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to know a lot more here after the first election, but we're not stopping experiencing Ecuador. We're not worried.
Juan says, that's the beauty of my country. We always have plenty of food. That's one reason why we love it. And it's not just quantity, but quality. Yes. It's so good here. We love the food that you guys grow.
And the people are awesome. That's the thing. No matter what, most people do not want to live in turmoil. So there may I can't form a sentence here. When we went out in Cuenca the very first time and we went into the protests, we walked through the whole protest. It was a huge crowd of people and everybody was really calm and just out there, being a peaceful protester. But then once you got out of the area where they were protesting, it was just life like normal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we actually went out. We probably shouldn't have, but we went out and filmed the first protest back in October 2019.
Yes.
It was fun.
It was
I actually found it really fascinating to see that many people. And this was in Cuenca. It wasn't even the main protest, which was in Quito. There was so many people, thousands and thousands of people out protesting.
It was crazy in a good way.
Yeah.
Well, until they started tear gassing and then we left.
So that was under the former president Moreno. That wasn't under Lasso. Juan asked, what's our favorite Ecuadorian dish?
No, it's such a hard one when people ask us that, because I can never, for some reason, I can never think of anything.
I know. I do like locro de papa.
Yeah, that's the first thing that popped into my head too.
Yeah, I love that soup.
It is delicious.
Let's see. Peru is bad now too with the protests. I thought they settled down. I think Peru's protests have settled down a little bit.
I haven't heard anything recently about Peru, but I have not been actively looking either.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, somebody commented that Peru's airports were closed. I know those tourists were stranded a couple of different times in Cusco. So the Quito airport did close for like a day or two, if I recall correctly, during the last national protest.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
Linda said, I love tropical plants and tall trees. Where is the best place to live in Ecuador to be able to enjoy that? The tropical plants is like Vilca or Mindo.
Yeah. Ooh, Mindo.
Because Salinas and Manta are very desert-like. They're very arid. I would say also the Alon Monta area, they have really tall palm trees, lots of green. It's a jungle microclimate.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot greener, also a lot more humid. Or the Amazon. We don't talk about the Amazon much. It's not as popular with our audience, but like Tena and Puyo.
Yeah. Well, and we haven't been there yet.
Yeah, we haven't been there.
Shockingly, we have not been there yet. Or Baños. We still have places to explore in Ecuador. We got to get busy, JP.
Yeah. El Circulo grows 80% of his own food.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Wow, good for you.
Year-round growing season. It's just different. You have to learn when and how to plant the stuff. It's a little different here, but you grow year-round.
Remember when we tried? Oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys remember. Some of you, we tried planting a garden in Olón during the pandemic. It did not go well. Yeah. And I had a pretty successful garden in Denver, but I did not have the tools I needed at my disposal, meaning like fresh seeds and stuff like that.
Or high quality dirt.
Yeah. Fertilizer.
Yeah. Because all the shops were closed during the pandemic. We couldn't actually get the stuff we needed to grow good stuff.
It was a bit of a letdown. And I think we grew a couple things that then the birds just ate.
Yeah, I had one beautiful tomato. I had like 10 tomato plants. They were big and beautiful, and they produced virtually no tomatoes. I had one big ripe red tomato. I was getting ready to pick it, and I go out there in the morning, and there's a hole that big in the side, and the whole inside had been cleaned out like a pumpkin at Halloween. There's some birds, and there was bird poop on top of the tomato. So
injury to insult.
He left his mark on my tomato. Becky, we covered the political stuff in the first like 15, 20 minutes. We just were devolving after somebody posted. Let's see. Anybody else have any other questions about the politics?
Not much to talk about with the politics, honestly. Right now, it's just kind of a wait and see.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes we have our little chat window just dies, and there's no new comments, and then all of a sudden,
it's weird.
Like 15 of them scroll by all at once. This dude looks and laughs like sounds like Jeff Bridges.
JP gets that a lot.
I know. Hey, man, like the dude.
Yes.
The rug really brings the room together.
So I don't think that this is going to have much of an influence, Neil, on the small the investor visas and things like that. Small businesses are buying real estate. I mean, obviously we don't know for certain, but I don't see that having a big impact. I mean, the country's is still doing well, all things considered.
Yeah. Somebody asked if Correa is allowed to run for election. If he comes back to Ecuador, supposed to go to jail for 8 years for embezzlement and fraud, but he is currently in exile in Belgium, and I doubt he will come back.
Probably not, but who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Climb aware. Tired of the politicized comments by Americans blaming this or that problem on this or that party. I agree. They're all to blame for not working together and not even wanting to talk to each other anymore.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part because they are supposed to work together and compromise.
Yeah. Remember back in the 80s when Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill used to like have drinks together and talk? They didn't agree on everything, but they at least talked to each other. I wish it would go back to that.
So Jamie asked, are prices of food and rent staying steady or going up any? That definitely has been fluctuating more. The rent prices have gone up in certain areas. So parts of Manta, parts of Cuenca has gotten more expensive. Food prices, I haven't noticed a ton. Have you?
No, I mean, it's hard for us because we kind of switched to buying almost all organic produce now. We found an organic produce vendor, and her stuff is quite a bit more expensive than the regular Mercaditos, but it's all organic, and she brings it all in from her farm, and it's awesome. But so we're willing to pay more for that. So I don't know. It's hard for us to say because we don't shop the way we used to.
Well, I haven't noticed any sort of big changes in the grocery stores.
No. And the rent is really dependent on where you are. In Manta, the rent is up, and Salinas, the rents are down.
Right.
So it really depends on where you go in Ecuador. I would say in Cuenca, they may be up a little or mostly the same. Cotacachi is mostly the same. So it really kind of depends on the area.
Exactly. Hey, Leif, long time. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for your generosity.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched you guys live. Thanks for your good content. Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
And then William. Gracias, William.
Muchas gracias, William.
I didn't see if you had a question or posted one earlier. Sorry. If you did, post it again. Let's see. Rent depends on where the gringos are. Yeah, it's true. And also the volume of housing available. That's why it's so much more expensive in Manta, because there's just not enough housing available for the amount of not just gringos, but also Ecuadorians.
Yeah, for oceanfront.
For oceanfront. There are a lot of middle and upper class Ecuadorians that also buy the same places that the gringos like. And so when there's not enough inventory, it drives the prices up. And actually, it's a way bigger audience of Ecuadorians buying those things. I know we always like to blame it on the gringos, but there are millions of middle class and upper class Ecuadorians. There's only like 40,000 expats.
I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seems like there should be more.
Somebody said they're going to Guayaquil. Should they cancel? You could go to Guayaquil, but I would recommend continuing on to Cuenca or Salinas or Olón. I just don't know.
I know.
If I can recommend Guayaquil right now because it's dangerous in parts.
So we really like the neighborhood of Ordesa. Wait, I cannot talk today. Ordesa. However, that has been in the news for more crime lately, so I wouldn't go there. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, honestly, about any of the tourist stuff or any problems like at the airport, but I don't. I would say go someplace else.
Yeah.
Better to be safe than sorry.
I know there's a lot of neat tourist stuff in Guayaquil too that we were able to see before the crime skyrocketed, but I wouldn't go there now. We wouldn't go there now to do the touristy stuff. There's just so much more to do in Ecuador.
Yeah, you have so many other options.
Yeah. Sorry, Guayaquil. Hopefully the mayor doesn't come down on us. The new mayor of Guayaquil. Hopefully they'll have some influence on the safety there.
I know, because we really like Guayaquil quite a bit. Hey, Neil, muchas gracias.
Gracias, Neil. Thanks for your infotainment. Oh, I appreciate it. I love that term. That's what we go for, infotainment. Isn't the crime gang related versus crime on tourists? It's both. The crime on tourists is mostly pickpocketing. It's not violent crime. The violent crime is mostly gang related.
Yeah. And
drug trafficking related. So
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron said Urdesa died a long time ago. Yeah. 15 years. That's disappointing. We were there. Well, it's been 3 years now since we were.
Yeah, it was nice when we were there.
Liked it.
That was during the pandemic, though.
That's true. So
right after the quarantine lifted, we went. That's where we bought our electric bikes in Urdesa.
Mm-hmm.
Becky said, I considered Vilca until I saw abundant living. Real estate bros totally distorted the prices there.
Oh.
We've heard that too. The prices are, that's another example
Yeah.
of there's not enough inventory for the number of people who want to move there. And that is mostly gringo oriented or expat oriented.
In Vilca?
In
For
Vilca.
sure.
It's not as many, although there are some Ecuadorians moving out because a lot of Ecuadorians are working online now after the pandemic, just like in the US. So there are more Ecuadorians moving there too, but it's mostly foreign residents. I couldn't believe it when we got there.
Oh my gosh, it had changed so much.
Yeah, we hadn't been there in 3 years when we went last summer, and it was just, I couldn't believe it. Like half of the people we saw walking around were foreign residents.
Yes. Yeah, that
So
was a big change.
it was really a massive change.
So somebody asked about Plius. You know what? I have not seen Plius in the news at all. So if anybody online knows anything about Plius, let us know, would you?
Yeah, we love Plius.
Yeah.
Plius is so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It was a neat
Weather,
town.
the beach. Yeah, we had a great time
People
there.
were friendly. Yeah,
Yes.
loved Plius. Oh, yes. Robbie lives in the Oceania building on Murciélago.
Oh, that's a really nice building.
That is beautiful. We
Yes.
filmed a property in there that was for sale. It was like a
Congrats.
4-bedroom. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great location.
Great views, and views there are amazing. I finally sold my house, ready to leave the USA. I've been planning on EC, but I'm thinking Panama might be better until the crime calms down. Do you have any thoughts? It's a personal decision.
Yeah.
You might like, I don't know. I guess it depends too. Do you want hot, like ocean weather, like Panama City, or what's that, Coronado?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want mountain living like Boquete? I'd say Boquete and Cuenca are pretty equivalent in terms of safety and living, but Panama City is a lot different than Manta or Salinas.
It definitely is. And I think we've heard that Panama is more expensive, but that it rates higher on safety. Boy, I just wanted to flip-flop stuff in my head. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. I told JP I did a hard workout this morning, and then sometimes it makes me a little too zen afterwards. So I still zen for my workout. But Panama is rated safer than Ecuador. But again, that's all where you go and what you want to do. The nice thing about both of them are they're on the dollar. It'd probably be a pretty good way to compare both because, like JP said, they do have a lot of similarities. But I think in general, Panama City is definitely going to be much more developed from a coastal perspective. You would want to compare that more to Quito, but then you're comparing sea level to 9,500 feet. I mean, it's kind of hard to compare those two.
Yeah, that's a lot different. Yeah, and Panama is on the Balboa, which is pegged to the dollar.
Oh, that's right. They're not technically on the US dollar.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you can use them interchangeably.
Yes, they do take the dollar.
Yes.
But they do have their own currency.
Says Colombia and Mexico have seen spikes in kidnapping, tourist violence lately. The stuff in Mexico, the 4 people that were kidnapped, and I think 2 of them were killed. That was a case of mistaken identity. They thought that they were Haitian drug dealers somehow. There was another killing, like 4 people killed in Cancun. It turns out they were dealing drugs. So it ended up, they weren't tourists. They were drug dealers that got killed for dealing drugs in a territory that was not their own, I guess. So you got to look at the follow-up stories because the news media in the US loves to come out with these scare stories about how a tourist was killed in Mexico or Colombia. And then like on page 10, 3 weeks later, they say, oh, by the way, those people were dealing drugs or doing something illegal and they got killed as part of their illegal activity. So you can't just take those stories at face value. You really have to dig into them. The tourists are not typically targeted other than for pickpocketing. They're not targeted for the violent crimes because it's kind of a written understanding that we come there and spend money on the stuff they're selling.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to appear on the radar of the United States or Europe or any of the other countries. And they don't want to like discourage their clients from coming there and buying their products, whether they're legal or illegal.
It is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but pickpocketing is a whole different story, and everybody is at risk of that, not just the tourists.
Yes, we know Ecuadorians that have been pickpocketed too. They're the ones who warned us in the very beginning when we first came to Ecuador about what to do to keep ourselves safe from pickpocketers. Somebody, by the way, I think it was Neil that asked if this live stream is going to be available to watch on replay, and the answer is yes. If you just go to our YouTube channel and you just hit the live tab, that'll take you to this one.
Yep.
Which JP will upload when we're done.
It'll be automatically there. I will just
Even better.
Probably change the title and the thumbnail.
And we have to go through and eliminate like 95% of whatever YouTube puts in, because YouTube likes to spam our stuff with ads, which is really obnoxious.
Yeah. So sorry, guys. Sometimes you guys comment, I love your stuff, but there's way too many ads. Well, thank you YouTube for that. And if you remind me, I try to remember to go in, because it takes them like 3 or 4 hours to add all of the ads in there. And then I have to remember to go in and remove half of them, because they just like put way too many.
Yeah.
So you can just,
thanks for letting us know.
Yeah. Just post in there. Please remove remove some of the ads.
Yeah.
We don't remove all of them, because that's how we pay for our cost of living. You don't want Daisy to starve, do you? Somebody said that, where was this? Tourists and other regular people are only hurt when they refuse to give their possessions in a robbery. Otherwise, they won't be touched. Very good advice.
Yes.
If you get, although most of the time it's pickpocketing, you don't even know it happened until later. But if someone does try to rob you, just give them your stuff. It's easier to replace things than it is to replace yourself, or to get health care or medical care if you get injured. Yeah, just give them your stuff. It's not worth it. You can replace phones, wallets, credit cards. It might cost you some money, but you'll be intact, because they'll just take it and go.
Yep.
So we're already at the 41-minute mark.
Wow, we've been chatting away.
I know. So we're going to wrap this up in the next few minutes. Just so we're planning on doing these more often. If we do shorter ones, we'll do them more often.
Somebody asked about, where is that? Pickleball, Mallory M. Boy, pickleball's huge. They have paddleball here. I have not heard about pickleball yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it starts up in Cuenca.
Well, in Cotacachi, remember that Amy told us that outdoor volleyball, there's like an outdoor volleyball / soccer court that's concrete. And she said that they play pickleball. The expats gather there and play pickleball.
Well, there you go.
I think that's if I remember correctly.
There's a big paddleball thing over in Manta, which looked like a lot of fun. It was super popular.
Thank you, John.
Hola, John. John.
Yeah, we haven't heard from you in a while on our live stream, so thanks for coming. Let's see.
Oh, and Leif, thank you. Yes, please leave us a like. We would really appreciate that.
Yeah, likes are appreciated.
Yes.
That tells YouTube that you appreciate our stuff, and we have to play the algorithm game.
We do.
Yep, that's the business.
That's the way it works.
Do you still have family in the States? And if so, how often do you visit? We went back one time in 4 years.
We visit a lot over the phone.
Yeah, we talk on the phone.
FaceTime.
Well, you use FaceTime.
I do with my family.
Yep.
You do sometimes with your mom. I think because she makes a mistake.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
I know. And I see like the top of her head.
Yeah.
I just see like this much.
Yeah.
That's what we do with your dad too. Like when we talk to her dad, it's like this, we see this up. And it's
awesome.
Like, we just get his eyes, the top, like nose up. It's funny. Are there a significant number of Ecuadorians who watch American football? No. They watch football, what we call soccer.
Yes.
There are bars where you can watch it. You won't find a lot of Ecuadorians watching it, but you will find a lot of foreigners from other countries watching it. Let's see. Let's say last couple of questions here. Any news of the Cuenca airport? No, we haven't heard yet. You want to talk about that?
Other than the fact there's no news, I know that they were talking about closing it to redo the runway, but I have not heard anything about it. So
yeah,
thanks for reminding me. I will put a note in my calendar to follow up on that periodically, but things have a tendency to move slowly. And I have a feeling that with everything, in the news recently in Cuenca, I think, didn't they, like the 3 of their top government officials just quit? They just up and quit. So
yeah, they all joined some sort of organization, some part of the organization,
task force for something
at the federal level instead of the state level. But I thought that was weird. It was like the mayor of Cuenca, the governor of Ushuaia, and some like comptroller or something, some other high level
Yeah.
official in the Azawai province. They all resigned like on the same day and took some position in the federal government.
It's been our observation that anything with airports end up taking a lot longer than they say they're going to. For example, when we lived in Manta, we kept hearing that there were going to be flights from Manta to Cuenca and Manta Galapagos and Manta, Panama. And here we are, and there are still no Manta flights. That was from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Has that been 2 years? Year and a half.
Sweetheart said it's hard to plan a trip when the Cuenca airport might be closed. I would say plan your trip. And if you can't fly into Cuenca, then you can always fly into Guayaquil and drive. It's like 3.5 hours.
That's true.
So it's not a deal breaker, but it's just a bit of an inconvenience. So, all right, you ready to wrap it up? It's been 45 minutes. We went a little long.
We did
That's
go
all
a
right.
little long. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
And also, if you guys want to know about the politics stuff and you tuned in late, that's what we talked about for the first 15 to 20 minutes at least. We talked about the political turmoil here in Ecuador. Also, remember to sign up for our newsletter because I will keep you guys updated.
Yes.
Let me share the link to that so you guys can sign up for the newsletter because I will. I write every week a free newsletter. You guys can opt out whenever you want. But I will talk about any current events that are relevant to foreign residents, or if you want to know, that's the best way to do it. A lot of people are like, you never talk about crime. Well, I write about crime almost every week in the newsletter. At least it feels like that. So we just don't do videos about it because there's nothing for us to show. It's better as written content.
Yeah, sort of like this over a live stream to give you guys updates.
Yep. All right, guys, we'll probably host another live stream soon. So thank you all for attending. Leave us a like before you go. We really appreciate that. And we will see you all in the next one.
Yep. Ciao.
Ciao. All right, now, how do I turn this off, Amelia? I always forget.
Silly.